Hi everyone, it's Mike here. So if you watch my vlogs regularly and you saw last week's, I mentioned that I created some ATCs last week, these ones to be precise, and when I reviewed the footage, my camcorder hadn't recorded any sound whatsoever. Now the entire process from start to end, it's about 40 minutes. So I would have needed to have sped up the process anyway, or edited it quite heavily if that sound had been recorded. So what I've decided to do is I've sped the whole thing up, and not wishing to lose the footage or throw the footage away, I thought I'd do a sped up and narrated kind of video using that footage. So what you're about to see is the reclaimed footage without the sound, with a little bit of narration from me. It's all pretty much self-explanatory. They're very, very similar ATCs to the ones that I created a while ago, except these are square ones rather than round. So, but they're pretty much the same, just a different colourway with a few other bits and pieces. A little bit of crackle paste thrown on for good measure, but pretty much using the paper dolls again. And this time I created 8. So I will show you what I created. So this is a piece of Winsor & Newton 300 GSM or £140 watercolour cardstock, cut at just over 10 inches by 7 inches, which means I'll be able to get at least 8 ATCs out of this watercolour cardstock. So these are my Dina Wakley scribble sticks that I'm just scribbling on, and I will activate with some water in a little while once I've actually got a selection of colours in the background. So now I've grabbed a wet baby wipe and I'm just activating all those colours just to kind of blend them all together, just to create a nice kind of mottled, colourful background for the cards. Now it did actually take off more than I thought using the baby wipe. I thought there'd be more colour left behind, and once it's wet you can't really add any more to it. So I thought I would then bring out my NEOCOLOR 2s and add some colour with those as well into the background and see what happens. So I think you can agree I've actually got better colour with those NeoColors than I did with the scribble sticks. The scribble sticks are hard pigments, whereas the NeoColor 2s are softer, more of a waxy consistency. So that might have something to do with the fact that I'm using them on textured cardstock. Who knows? So I'm pretty happy with the colour at this stage, so I'm going to bring out the heat gun, give it a quick blast just to make sure it's all nice and dry, and then I'm ready to do some overstamping. Now this is the Archival ink. I've got a bit fast there, haven't I? So it was Potting Soil Archival ink, and it was the Collector's Edition #2 script stamp from INDIGOBLU, which is what I'm using right now. So done with the potting soil, and I'm going to switch over to the FERN green archival ink and then fill in those gaps. So done with the green, just give it a quick clean off and then bring out the heat gun to make sure it's all nice and dry before moving on to the next step. So next up, I'm bringing out the Dina Wakley white acrylic paint, and I want to add some little dots into the background just to add a little bit of texture and a little pop of white into that background. So all done with that stenciling, so I'm just going to give it a quick blast with the heat gun and then move on to the next step. So I want to add some darker stenciling, so this is Tree Branch Archival ink, and I'm also going to be using the HARLEQUIN stencil from TCW, or the Crafter's Workshop, just to add a little bit more tone and a little bit of warmth and some earth tones in the background alongside those white pops. So once I'm happy with the stenciling, just going to bring out the heat gun just to make sure it's all nice and dry before moving on and starting to cut out my ATC shapes. So this is my Stampin' Up paper trimmer, so I'm just going to cut out my ATC shapes now. They're going to be 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So I'll be left with 8 of those little ATC sized cards. So those are the 8 ATC sized cards. Now it's time to start decorating them with bits and pieces. So first out comes a piece or roll of washi tape. I'm just going to add a couple of bits of washi tape to each card. So I've got 2 washi tapes out. So I'm going to just go around each one, adding in a piece of washi tape, and then I'll add another piece on top of that. So I've now sorted out 8 of the smaller paper dolls from Tim Holtz Idea-ology range that I know will fit onto this sized card. So I'm just kind of arranging them roughly where I want them to go and deciding whether to just manoeuvre them a little bit or move them up to the left or over to the right, or turn it upside down like I've just done on that one. So when I'm happy with the way that I want them, I'm going to grab my Tombow Mono liquid aqua glue. This is the clear stuff, and I'm just going to glue them down onto the ATC. So that was the last of the 8. So I'll just bring them all back in so you can see, and then we can start adding on a little bit more texture. So now the ATCs have had plenty of time to dry, left them for about 20 minutes, I'm going to bring out my texture paste, the opaque crackle texture paste from Ranger, and just add a little to each one of the ATCs. So once I've got some of that crackle paste on each one, I'm going to dry them off by using the heat gun just to encourage it to crackle and set very, very quickly. Next, I'm just going to use some of that tree branch archival ink, and I'm going to go around the edges of each one of the ATCs with this ink blending foam and just add a little bit of that ink over the top of the crackle paste as well, just to highlight those cracks. So once all of them have had that ink added, I'm just trying to tilt it so you can see those cracks. So I now want to add some more texture and a little more layering. So I've got some strips of papers, just got writing or little adverts on, and I'm going to create a little banner for each one. Just using the point of this punch, I'm going to nip out a little like fishtail pennant edge of those, from those pieces of paper, just to create some little pennant banners. You could do the same thing if you have a square hole punch too. So once my little pennant banners are created or all punched, I'm just going to add a little spot of glue onto the back and just stick them down, one for each of the ATCs. So once the pennants are stuck down, I'm going to reach for my Tim Holtz, I think these are the chit chat stickers, the single words. I'm going to just pick one random word out of the entire collection just to stick on each of those pennant banners. Now I'm happy with the fronts of those ATCs. It's now time to work on the back. So I'm going to flip them all over and grab my ATC backs. Now these are a digi-download that are available on my website right now. And I've already cut them out. I'm just going to glue one to the back of each of the ATCs. So just skipping ahead to the point where I've added one to the back of each one, it's now time to fill out all the details for the cards and the set on the back. And I'll be doing the same thing for each one. So I'll just skip ahead now to the point where they're all done, and I'll just flick through each one and show you the fronts and the backs. And you can see the crackle and that crackle paste a lot more clearly now. And there you have it, another set of 8 ATCs. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, without whose generosity and support these videos would not be possible. Thank you.